right into this video. I'm gonna be straight up and honest with y'all. This is going to be right off of one of my blog posts on my website. Please bear with me. It is a AI voiceover, only because it is kind of long for me to just speak it entirely and have it said perfectly. And there's going to be no background noise in it, so the video should be extraordinarily clear, easy to understand. So yeah, enjoy it and enjoy the footage that I was actually able to make use of, because the original volume on that video was complete trash. So, enjoy!
Starting a community during after SHTF. As much as some people might say, I'm a lone wolf prepper, or something along the lines of when SHTF, I'm going it alone, this is a lethal way of thinking. The truth is, you in fact can go it alone, there's no question about that. The real question is, how long can you go it alone? When you ask yourself that question, it's very important you honestly, truly answer that question, and you're not answering that to anyone else but yourself. Don't just answer yes I can go it alone for X amount of time to comfort yourself or attempt to reassure yourself. Remember this. In SHTF many things can kill you, being overconfident and lying to yourself is one of them. Understanding the importance. Before we even start a community, we must understand the importance of community. Having a community is having a larger MAG, a mutual assistance group. It means you're not stuck doing everything yourself. It means not just surviving, but thriving. Having a good community doesn't guarantee that you'll survive and come out on the other side of SHTF, but it does significantly increase those odds. I don't know about y'all, but I'd rather have better odds of survival than worse. First things first. In order to start a community, you'll need to have people. I'm sorry, but there's no way around that. Jim Bob the sheep doesn't carry an AK and can't post guard duty. It's important to understand that there is such a thing as too small and too large when it comes to the size of a community. Too small means too many people have too much to do. Too large and you could run into the issue of it becoming harder and harder to govern, and yes, we'll get into governing in this article, don't worry. What's too small? To answer this, we need to assess what tasks need to be completed, and believe me, there's a lot. The group becomes too small when everyone becomes bogged down with things to do. While a community might be too small to operate efficiently, that doesn't mean it can't exist. It does however mean people will become stressed faster, and not everything might get done, or at least not get done in a timely manner. How many people doing what? A good rule to follow is having at minimum 2 people per major task: gathering water, gathering food. This can include all forms of obtaining food from the wild, so a minimum of 2 people for hunting and fishing, etc. Medical needs, construction, and any other labor-intensive task. You should have at least 1 person dedicated to growing food. If you do, make sure they're good at it. 1 person dedicated to harvesting the meat on any game and fish, who should also be in charge of proper storage of that meat. 1 person should be in charge of all cooking, and someone should be in charge of sanitation. There should also be a minimum of 6 people that should be dedicated to guard duty. For this setup you'll have 2 shifts split into 3 people, all 6 working a minimum of 4 hours a day. Day shift will work during sun-up hours, and night shift will work sundown hours. Having this setup will allow all guard members to be properly rested. The more people, the better, but remember too many can cause its own issues. Important tasks at hand. Of course guard duty is important, that's why I'm saying it here. It's also one of the most obvious tasks. So guard duty aside, let's look at the big tasks that must be completed. Gathering water. This one is also a very labor-intensive task and therefore should be done by 2 or more people. This is also an everyday task and must be completed. This is also a life-sustaining task. Food gathering. Everyday task and a life-sustaining task. Be it by hunting, or fishing, or gathering berries, nuts and edible mushrooms, one form or another, this task must be done daily. While fishing by itself can be done by 1 person, hunting parties and gathering berries and mushrooms should be done by 2 or more people. Medic. It's best to have more than 1 person who knows medical skills. There will be a time you'll be thankful you did. These people will literally mean the difference of life and death, so let them rest and give them a light duty task to do when they're not doing anything involving medical needs. These people should be well rested when possible. After all, someone who's exhausted won't perform well when it comes to major medical needs. Life-sustaining and everyday task. Construction. Just because SHTF happened and the cities are in ruins doesn't mean you'll be living in a sleeping bag under some trees. You'll need at least a couple of people who can construct buildings. They don't need to be fancy, even bushcrafted huts will work. Whoever builds them should also be doing daily or at least weekly inspections, even if it's a wooden hut. Those in construction should be working on ways to improve buildings and expanding when they're not making a new structure or inspecting an already existing structure. Everyday task. Gardening. Of course you can't have a working community without a working garden. Ideally there should be more than one person working the gardens, but it could be done with only one person. This is an everyday task and is life-sustaining. Those in charge of gardens should be very good at what they do. Gardeners should understand that they will have a percentage of crop loss due to various things. Abattoir. This will be the person to separate the meat from the animal, be it a pig, deer or fish. This will be an everyday task. The abattoir should also be reasonable for food preservation and/or storage. The abattoir could also lend a hand at cooking if needed. The cook. This is the person that should cook the day's meals for everyone. They will cook breakfast and dinner, lunch if you're lucky enough to have enough food. This is of course a life-sustaining and everyday task. This doesn't need multiple people, but would benefit if there were. The guard. I know I said the guard aside, but it's just that important. While it isn't directly a life-sustaining task, it is a life-protecting task. This is of course an everyday task. There should be no less than 6 members of the guard. 2 shifts, day and night. 3 members per shift minimum. Every member of the guard should be on duty a minimum of 4 hours with only 6 members. A schedule should be created to allow enough rest per person. Every guardsman should be properly trained in whatever weapons they'll be using. This is a task in which not everyone will be qualified to do. It's important you know who they are and that you trust them with everyone's life. Sanitation. Absolutely not something lavish, but it's very important. When you've got no indoor plumbing and need to take a dump, where are you going to do so? Someone needs to be in charge of sanitation and enforce it. Toilets should be close to camp but not too close. They also shouldn't be anywhere near water and where you grow your food. Sanitation should also be responsible for proper disposal of any trash or waste. Whatever trash is produced should be disposed of properly. Be mindful that modern landfills have a venting process to expel the natural gases it produces. Proper sanitation will help reduce illnesses and diseases, and keep foul smells down to a minimum. This is an everyday task. Lumberjack. Not an everyday task as you don't want to cut down the whole forest. This is an important task as you'll be using wood for many different applications. Council and/or leader. Well, no surprise here. A leader and/or council should be formed to make laws and govern the community. Issues should be brought forth to the council or leader and be handled. Some other tasks that aren't so important. There's a number of things that are optional but add a huge quality of life factor. Craftsman. Someone who'll make different things such as benches, shelves, baskets, beds, chairs, tables and more. Shopkeeper. Having a store of course isn't necessarily a must, but it could encourage a monetary system and some diversity in what people own. Blacksmith. It is what it says but only if you've got the material to run a blacksmith. A blacksmith will bring you into the Iron Age from the Stone Age and could help create the next job. Gunsmith. Having a way to produce and/or repair firearms and gunpowder. Black powder will be light and day for hunting and defense. Law and order. Love them or hate them, law enforcement is a critical part of establishing and keeping rule of law. Having a judicial system goes hand in hand with law enforcement. After all, laws will be formed and shall be enforced. You can't have a bunch of criminals running around regardless of how Australia turned out. How will you govern? The way your community is governed is important. It will determine if people vote, how people of power obtain their power, how long people can stay in power, who makes the rules, etc. There's different ways of governing a population as seen around the world. You must choose what type of government your community will have and how power is passed on. Sometimes having an authoritarian form of government is necessary in the very beginning in order to establish everything that needs to be done. However, it would be recommended to change this form of government once a real community is established. Will it be a constitutional republic where a local constitution is formed and that lays down the rule of law, or will it be a monarchy or communist form of government, heaven forbid, or will it be a hybrid of sorts? Regardless, a form of government will be in place. Even anarchism could be considered a form of government. Just remember that every action a governing body makes, there's a reaction, be it good or bad. Communication and integration. Eventually SHTF will subside and it'll be time to integrate back into whatever country is either left or formed. Good communication with the outside world will help with this. You'll need to stay in the know with what's going on around you. Without good communication, integration will be rough. And who knows, whatever country is made, with the right communication skills, they may allow your community to have its own autonomous republic as the Soviet Union allowed with its Jewish population.